Now the next topic is k-mean clustering. First of all, we will see what is the clustering. The process of grouping objects into a cluster such that objects from the same cluster are similar and objects from the different cluster are dissimilar. Okay. And the second point is clustering is an unsupervised learning technique, while we know that classification is a supervised learning technique. Okay. And classification is the process of classifying the data with the help of class label, while in case of clustering there are no predefined class labels. Okay. And classification is a supervised learning, and clustering is a unsupervised learning. And what is use of clustering? The use of cluster is automatically organizing data, and second is understanding hidden structure in data, third is pre-processing for future analysis. Now see, these are the different objects. Okay, this is the different, this is square represent the objects. Okay, this is square represent the objects. Okay, grouping these objects to form a cluster. Okay, if we group this first row, all the objects in the first row, then we make a cluster like this. Okay, if these objects are similar, then group these objects in the second row to form the cluster like this. And if we group these objects which is in the third row, if these all are the similar, then make this cluster. Okay, using these four objects. Okay, similarly using this fourth row, then all the objects, if these objects are similar, then make this cluster. Okay, there are different way to make a cluster. If these objects in the first column and fourth row and fourth column, if these objects are similar, then this is how we make a cluster. If second, and if these six objects are similar, then this is how we make a cluster. Okay? And this is the third method to make a cluster like this. If these objects are similar column wise, then this is the first cluster. According to these objects, this is the second cluster. According to the third row, third column, this is the third cluster, and according to the fourth column, this is the fourth cluster. And if the first and second column have a similar type of object, then this form of cluster like this. And if the third and fourth column objects are similar, then we make the cluster like this. Okay, this is how we make a cluster using a similar object. Okay, and see, what is cluster? Cluster is a process of grouping object into a cluster such that object from the same cluster and similar and object from different cluster are dissimilar. See, k-mean clustering. What is K? K stand for a number of centroid. K means attempting to classify them into K clusters. This algorithm is iterative in nature. Okay, and the goal of this algorithm is to find groups in the data with the number of groups represented by the variable K. Okay, now see, this is a k-mean algorithm. Okay, the basic step of k-mean clustering is very simple. In the beginning, we determine the number of cluster K, and we assume the centroid or center of their clusters. And now see the step 1. Compute distance from all the point to all K center using Euclidean distance. Okay, to measure the dissimilar object, we use the Euclidean distance. Okay, to compute the distance from all point of all K center to all K centers. Okay, second is assign each point to the nearest K center, and third step is compute the average of all point assigned to all specific K center. Okay, now next is replace the K center with the new average. Okay, in a k-mean, determine the centroid coordinates and then determine the distance of each object to the centroid using the Euclidean distance formula, and then group the object based on the minimum distance. This is how we can calculate the cluster using this algorithm. Okay, these all about the algorithm, and we'll see the numerical of k-mean cluster in the next lecture. Okay, thank you.